For the following interview, Alfred Sanchez, President and CEO of the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce, takes the stage of America Business Forum.
Hello. Welcome. Let me get my setup here. Wow, what a crowd. Welcome to Miami. Bienvenidos a Miami, Fahad.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. It's a pleasure. And it's interesting to coming from Riyadh to Miami, the most fastest two growing cities globally. It deserves a round of applause to everybody of us.
That's right. An amazing fact. So as I was doing my research, I found out you were the head of Investment Strategy and Economic Insights Division at the Public Investment Fund for Saudi Arabia. So, you know, we used to Google everything. Nowadays, we chat GPT everything. So I was chatting about you last night. And it said this that I wanted to share with the audience because I think it really frames your unique perspective in today's discussion. It says, Mr. Alsaif sits at the intersection of strategy, where to invest and what themes to lean into, and finance, how to structure and fund those investments, which I think is a unique perspective that not a lot of people have. So I'm really looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you.
So I want to start with sort of a pullback a little bit. PIF is a sovereign wealth fund. Those sovereign wealth funds have come a long way over time. And I thought that maybe you could talk a little bit about how the role of PIF has changed over time.
Sure. So sovereign wealth funds, since the 1970s, were responsible on wealth management, particularly on surpluses on an annual basis, preserving next generation wealth. However, that mandate have evolved. With today's circumstances and all of the changes that is happening globally, sovereign wealth funds are moving from self-managing generational fund into becoming more active thematic investments, particularly in the new sectors that we are all aware about, which is AI, infrastructure, data, bio, etc. However, the new development that is happening most recently, I think sovereign wealth funds being as a passive asset allocator is no more a mandate. They are becoming more active in becoming an orchestrator of the new economical, global, or geo-economical structure, particularly anchoring prosperity, most importantly, stability.
And how's the fund grown over time?
So PIF since 1971, the main mandate is to support particular sectors, particularly petrochemicals, and certain infrastructure, which is relevant to transportation. With the launch of the Vision 2030 in 2016, the PIF mandate have completely changed to perform three important roles. National builder, to unleash the potential of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and to be belonging to the bigger architecture of the whole economical systems, and also an asset maximizer. So there are national champions that we are right now pushing them to become regional to global champions. And I will come to that when we explain the PIF evolution strategy. And most importantly, which is the long vision or the North Star of continuing to be able to preserve the next generational fund and maximize the wealth. Since 2020 until today, actually in a month from now, we will be concluding our 5-year strategy, and we're moving into the evolution of the coming 5 years. We have been very prospective on the mandate of long-term patient investor, investing across the globe, but particularly being able to embark the mandate of a national builder to the kingdom.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what role do you think that the SWFs have to play in the global growth? I know you guys have doing a lot here in the United States, but what is the new strategy leaning into that?
So in 2021 to 2025, we were very much focusing on unleashing the potential of 13 sectors. and we were able to deploy money focusing on growth. Now we're taking the PIF into the impact. But between growth to impact, there is scalability that we wanted to focus on. So the 13 sectors have been extremely successful, de-risking the sector, being a patient investor, putting investments for decades, 10, 20, 30 years. And we are not, under pressure by having quarterly earnings. So we can take the pressure from the private sector, but also enable the government to enable the whole Vision 2030 to achieve its KPIs. We were very successful in investing abroad, particularly in thematic investments. And I believe PIF has contributed to the total sovereign wealth fund AUM. As you're aware, AUM, the sovereign wealth funds, have moved up from 12 trillion to 14 trillion. And the majority of it is because of the US market. Most of the investments of the sovereign wealth funds are very much tagged into the financial markets of the US, and it is very much progressive, and therefore the increase in AUM.
Well, we'll talk more about that. One of the things I wanted to ask is PIF is sort of the engine for Vision 2030.
Correct.
And so where do you think it's going? That 2030 is almost here. Where is it going in the next 5-year chapter and even beyond that?
So the investment, actually, it is focused on local national development, but also maximizing wealth. We are right now taking the 13 sectors, embedding them into 6 ecosystems. And why? It is very important, so we are able to link the portfolio companies in a platform that could extract maximum productivity. So the 6 ecosystems are tourism, travel, and entertainment. We have great ambitions on the tourism sector. And it includes also the giga projects for the hospitality. And, ecosystem number 2 is advanced manufacturing and innovation. And I will give you an example of the clusters that actually fits within that. The AI, electronics, aeronautics and defense, pharmaceutical, and automotive cluster. And then we move into the 3rd ecosystem, which is industry and logistics, and the 4th, which is sustainable energy and infrastructure. And the 6th one, which is NEOM. NEOM is a very long-term project. It's a decade project, but these 5 ecosystems should be deployed into NEOM once all of them are becoming extremely competitive and the maturity is high to embed more private sector and more inclusive private sector money.
So it's really very broad and dispersed. I really love that. So what does that evolution mean for partners and investors who might be interested in being part of that?
So PIF, through the enable of the Vision 2030 economical diversifier, we are placing these ecosystems as the potential opportunity for US corporates to be part of it, since the whole architecture of the economical value is changing. And I will give you an example. Each nation has layers of economical architecture. So it starts from sector to cluster, ecosystems. So this is on a national level. And then there is one layer up, which is the global value network. Today, it is moving to geo-economical value, global value. So PIF will enable the US investors to take advantage of the ecosystems that we're building. In particular, that we're putting a platform that is very committed to grow, but also very stable to anchor more potential.
You know, a lot of that investment, especially in green, et cetera, hits home for us here in Miami. One of the things that, by the way, I was looking at the data of what you are, because I want to bring it in now in terms of what's happening in the US. And while we're doing that, I saw some of the data of the investments you all have made in Miami. And I'm just going to look at my notes here. It says 1.3 million people have come to Miami because of your events. More than 500 million people have watched the Miami Open, Live Golf, and E1 Miami Grand Prix, which, by the way, if you don't know what E1 is, remember the speedboat races that we used to have? Well, they're the electric speedboat races that are actually running this weekend here. So thank you for that, and I would be remiss as the CEO of the Greater Miami Chamber if I didn't thank you for your economic development participation here in Miami. So thank you for that. But I'm curious, so that's Miami. It's a small piece of even a bigger U.S. market. Tell me about how this all fits into the wider strategic plan for PIF here in the United States.
So PIF is a very active investor into U.S. economy, particularly on the newly thematic investments. But it started since 2017. I mean, the aggregation of the direct investments the PIF has in the U.S. have crossed $170 billion in private markets and public markets. The level of procurement that Saudi is doing at the moment, particularly building up the sectors, and I think going forward by unleashing the potential of ecosystem, until today we have crossed $80 billion. I think both of those numbers are going to exponentially go higher. A lot of our ecosystems are very much focused on US technology, US IP, US R&D. It is fascinating how US spend a lot of resources and a lot of talent and a lot of funding when it comes to intellectual property, but also, most importantly, R&D. Almost $500 billion in 2023. We want to tap into the knowledge, the skill set, the talent, the know-how, and the partnership.
And I didn't catch how many jobs have actually occurred?
The total procurement and also the investments, as far as our own statistics, it is impacting 170,000 households. Wow. And we believe between 25 to 2030, that figure will go exponentially higher.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So this conference is about U.S.-Saudi partnership. Partnerships are two-way streets. You all have been bringing a lot of investments here, making a lot of investments in the United States. But there are also a lot of investments in Saudi Arabia. I saw that you have in the video where there's Microsoft, I think NVIDIA, Google, I can't remember what other ones. There's just many, many more. Those are huge companies in the United States. What are the investment opportunities? So
the kingdom have actually progressed very well in overachieving its own KPIs. So let me take you a step backward. In 2030, we wanted to diversify away from oil, just to make sure that we have the right stability and to avoid volatility in planning and strategy making. Today, the non-oil GDP contribution to the total GDP have crossed 55%. The FDI have grown year over year by north of 37%. The non-oil revenue, which was single digit in 2015, today it have crossed 49% as far as Q2 2025. So we are very determined on growing our economy in acquiring more talents, but to become the conduit between East and West and the global South. We believe that there are tremendous amount of opportunities for US corporates, US investors, to come and tap into these economical systems that will become part of the global economical architecture. We believe that we are stable, friendly, strategic alliance that has been built over the years. We are very much connected to the financial system of the US. You mentioned in the introduction my previous job, or my actual the previous job within PIF was the global capital finance. Most of my financing was actually dependent on US corporates and US financial institutions. So we have these linkages, and we believe that there's a lot of synergy and reciprocity that could be built. And therefore, I invite my US friends and partners to come and envisage the opportunities in the kingdom. It's extremely stable, the potential is very high, and we believe that PIF could de-risk the potential for the future to both of us build up the prosperity.
It's amazing. I'm wondering if I could get you to get a little more focus in terms of what kind of companies, what kind of expertise is really going to be successful in helping the kingdom in their goals?
In Saudi. So today, in each sector, we have incubated, as we call it, the national champion. So, for example, in AI, we have set up or established Humane, which is the AI champion of the kingdom, and most of the companies that are tech-related have already started partnership with Humane in Saudi. And each sector, we have a champion. So, for example, esports and gaming, we have Savvy, which have did certain acquisitions in US. We have also, on the automotive cluster, investments into Lucid, which became also an assembly manufacturer, have established the assembly manufacturer line in Saudi, which right now we're exporting to the other side of the world. In semiconductors and electronics, we do have Alat, which is the also national champion. So we are building these national champions to become also a part of the global network. And we believe that the opportunities, whether to be part of the supply chain or the ecosystem, or being a part of these national champions, we believe that these are going to become the future of the new Aramcos in Saudi.
Very exciting stuff. And I got to tell you that my grandkids are really excited that you all have invested in EA Sports, because that's one of their great things. It has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Thank you so much. I think you've really given us a fascinating viewpoint here, and I think you've set the stage very well for the rest of the conference. I want to thank you all for being a part of this conference in innovation and really finding out more about the partnership.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you.